So, happy 4th of July, I guess. Carla here. Yes, I'm back after only just 1 week. It's a miracle, I know. Picture this. It is a Wednesday. In the middle of the night. Around 11-ish, actually. And I am on my computer working on some stuff so I can finish up for the day and get ready for bed because I have to be at the office at 9 the next morning, right? So I'm sitting there thinking, well, there's not much to do, I just need to wrap things up. Everything's gonna be fine, I'll just finish up here and then I'll go to bed and it'll be fine, right? I usually go to bed around midnight on weekdays, or I try to. It doesn't happen often actually, but that's generally my goal. That day I am actually, close to achieving that goal because it's 11 and I'm almost done with all the stuff that I've been doing. So yeah, I think I probably will get to go to bed at midnight. Should be reasonable, right? Right, so I'm sitting on this desk using my computer and I just, decide to switch my Chrome tabs to my TweetDeck tab, right? Which I have open all the time, but I only check every so often. And I switched to my TweetDeck tab and literally at that exact moment, I think I was only on Twitter for something like a few seconds and a new tweet pops up on my timeline. And it's from the Stranger Things official account and it's a video. And the thumbnail for that video is, as you can see right there, just an image I've never seen before. And they've been teasing some stuff, they've been putting up videos of rats running around somewhere or whatever. And you kind of know that they're getting at something, but they never explicitly said anything was coming. So I'm just sitting there looking at my TweetDeck timeline, and all of a sudden there's this video at 11 p.m. on a Wednesday, and I know it's my fault because I live on the other side of the world, so for the rest of the world, for the majority of the audience, this actually came out at a decent time of the day. But for me, because I live on the opposite side of the world, it was 11 p.m. and I was supposed to be just about to get to bed so I could go to the office the next day rested, like normal people do, right? So I'm sitting there, I stare at the thing for 5 seconds and then I realize, holy shit, they just posted a trailer for Stranger Things 3. I don't even watch the thing, I just retweet, reblog, share it on Facebook, I just go all over the place. So my socials exploded that night and I just I kept getting notifications because apparently I was one of the first few people who actually got the thing around, I guess, because it just happened to be sitting in front of TweetDeck when it came out. It just so happened, right? It was that much of a coincidence. So I start sharing it on all my social media and I start getting mentions. And meanwhile, I haven't even watched the thing because I'm so electrified by the idea that there's a trailer out and I have to tell everybody. And I'm just sitting there freaking out, So yeah, I actually didn't get to watch it for a few minutes because I was so busy sharing it everywhere. And then after, pausing and taking a deep breath and realizing, you know what, it's gonna be okay. I'm not gonna die after this, it's gonna be okay. I decide I'm gonna watch it. So I watch it and there goes my night. Seriously, I wasn't able to sleep for 3 hours after that. I was a complete wreck the day after at the office. Totally just lost the entire night. Thank you, Duffers. Thank you, Netflix, for doing that to me. I seriously was not able to fall asleep for like hours, but I was so hyped that I couldn't. Like, usually people think it's weird that I need to have my TV on so I can get to sleep. It's not on, like, I'm not listening to it. I usually have it muted or something, but it's just kind of like a nightlight in a way. It just kind of lulls me to sleep, so I always sleep with the TV on and then just set the timer and let it, turn off whenever after I'm asleep already. That night, I was like, okay, I'm not gonna, just watch TV like I usually do every night. I'm gonna set this trailer up on repeat on my Chromecast. So I can just have it playing over and over and over while I fall asleep. And that was saying a lot because I had already watched it like 12 times by that point. But then I just put it on and it just played on a loop as I fell asleep, and it took me like 3 hours to fall asleep because I was so psyched. Because not only did they release a trailer, they also released a bunch of stills. So of course I had to get through that. By the time I'm done with all the stills, it's like 1:30 in the morning already. Because I had to post about the stills everywhere too, right? So it's just, Netflix, what are you doing to me? Like, seriously, it's what? Why would you do that to people? Oh my god. The thing is, a new trailer for Stranger Things 3 was released this week. I was literally, the thing that I was working on at that moment, at 11 p.m. on a Wednesday, it was my previous video, the one for the Dragon Prince. I was still not done with it. And I already knew, this thing dropped and I'm gonna have to make a video about it. And it's gonna be 1 week late and I hate myself for it, but I can't because I already have this other video that I'm working on, so I'm gonna have to wait till next week to post this one. And it was all a mess. But it was a happy mess because I love this trailer so much. It's just the very first look we've gotten, apart from that, marketing teaser about the mall and whatever. This is actually the first footage of the actual season that we have gotten. So I was just so happy, so excited. I loved it so much. And I was so hyped that I couldn't sleep at all that night. And I was a mess at the office the next day, but it was worth it. Because we got our first look at Stranger Things 3. And it was epic. I'm so excited. And of course, I had to come back here, and as you might know, I tend to do breakdowns of the trailers for Stranger Things, so I had to do it, and I was expecting a teaser, right? Some sort of the first tease that we got for season 2, remember? Where it was just a few flashes of a few scenes and nobody knew what the heck was happening. This one was a full trailer. I mean, don't get me wrong, we're still not entirely sure what's going on, but we got so much footage that we can't actually dissect it frame by frame, or nearly frame by frame. I wouldn't do that to you. There's too many frames in a video. It's too long. It's 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes, something like that. But clip by clip, we can go dissecting it, and it's actually, now that I've been working on it and I've been looking at the screen caps and stuff, I realized that we can actually get a lot of information out of it, and I wasn't really expecting that. So that's what I'm gonna do today. Warning, of course, this video is going to be insanely long. I'm warning you now. It's gonna be stupidly long, but it's gonna be worth it because we're gonna learn a lot of things. And I haven't checked other breakdown videos. As of now, I've been trying to stay away from them so I can make my own conclusions, but I have been trying to stay away from speculating too much about season 3, because I know ultimately it's gonna be mostly wrong, right? But now that we have a trailer, I feel like there are some things that we can actually say that will make sense come the season. So I'm gonna be speculating a lot. This video is gonna be really, really, really long. So if you're not a fan of Stranger Things, I don't know why you would watch it, but if you are a fan of Stranger Things and you can spend hours and hours and hours sitting in front of your TV watching the actual video, I'm sure you can more than happily sit in front of your computer for over an hour talking about a 2.5-minute trailer, because that's what I would do. Like, let's face it, we're all insane fangirls and fanboys out there that do that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna do today. If you want to go into the season knowing absolutely nothing, this might not be the video for you, because I do think that at least some of these speculation ideas are gonna turn out to be right. Some of them, like most of them, are probably gonna turn out to be wrong, but some of them are gonna turn out to be right. If you don't want to be disappointed when you actually watch the show, maybe this isn't the video for you. But I don't think it's a spoiler, since it's in the trailer, and the actual Netflix Duffer Brothers official accounts put it out. So it's not like I'm spoiling you, but I'm warning you anyway. If you want to go into the season completely blank, don't come at me later on and be like, oh, you ruined the reveal for me. That's not my point. I'm just trying to speculate like any other fan would. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna do today. And I'm gonna start from the beginning. So the way this trailer begins, I love. Like, it was the absolute best way to start a trailer ever. Like, I just loved it so much. And it starts with Dustin in his room. He's obviously coming home from summer camp, I guess. I mean, we know this is the thing. They've mentioned it before. I do have the Stranger Things 2 companion book right there. The world's turned upside down book, and they have a season 3 preview, and they do mention it, that Dustin is at summer camp, so this is not like some kind of huge reveal or anything. And it's probably just from the first episode, so I don't think it's spoiling anything to have like the full scene, but it was a really great way to start the trailer. So Dustin is in his room, he's sitting in his bed, and he's clearly feeling sad because he thinks his friends ditched him, right? Like, he's probably just come home from summer camp, and he's called all his friends, and they all told him, you know what, Dustin, we're kind of busy right now, we're doing other stuff, so maybe we'll see you later. And he's feeling really dejected about that, right? He's sitting there in his bed feeling sad and sorry for himself and whatever. The only thing that's actually making him feel a little bit of comfort is that Yerno is there, and yes! Yerno lives! This is so great! Like, we all thought, I hope that's Yerno. Duffers, I'm looking at you, that better be the actual Yerno and not just a replacement. Yerno has to live. Yerno is there, at least she's there to listen to him, so that makes him feel a little bit better. And then all of a sudden, a bunch of toys start moving and coming out of his closet all on their own. Also, I just have to say, shout out to R2-D2. Made me smile. I wish I could have an R2-D2 like that I could just play with all day, even though I'm like in my 30s. It would be super cool. So, obviously he thinks this is weird. It's a weird-ass thing to have happen for no reason at all, right? So he picks up the nearest weapon to him, which turns out to be a can of Farrah Fawcett hairspray, which you might remember from season 2. And he starts following the toys. And they're all walking out toward his living room. And it's really cool because it kind of reminds me of season 2, in the scene when he was trying to lure Dart out to like the basement of his house, right? And he's like dropping deli meats on the floor to get Dart to like follow the trail and whatever. It kind of reminds me of that because he's walking down that aisle and he's like being super cautious and whatever, and it reminded me a lot of that, so I like that. As that is happening, we see that the others are somewhere, and there's this really great shot of the 5 of them that I just adore. And if you're following me on Tumblr, you will see that I made like 700 edits and graphics and wallpapers and all kinds of stuff with that image, because what I did was that I grabbed the whole sequence, right, which is currently playing in the panel beside me, with the whole sequence of the 5 of them, and I manipulated it into just one image of the 5 of them together. And I love that. That was my favorite moment of the entire trailer. And that's saying a lot because there's a lot more coming, as you probably know. But I just love that shot of like how they pan from one to the other until you realize that it's Elle that's controlling the toys with her powers. And they all planned this because they want to surprise Dustin with a welcome home. sign, whatever. And I love that sequence so much. So I made a GIF, I made like a bunch of edits, a bunch of graphics, I changed my wallpaper to that, so like that's a lot. Like I really love that show. It's clear to me that the Duffers are really, I mean, they've always been great with cinematography, but it feels different. It feels like they're more sophisticated, and I will talk more about that later on with different shots, but it feels like they're more sophisticated with their cinematography at the moment, and I really like that. So what happens next is, of course, Dustin, the toys stop moving, and Dustin is like, what the hell is going on here? And he goes to pick one up, and in the meantime, the other 5 are coming behind him with a sign that says, "Welcome home, Dustin." And they're all ready to just surprise him, right? And I have to admit, like, the inner shipper in me is kind of excited because it seems like Max is the one, like, leading the pack or whatever, like leading this whole enterprise, and I kind of really dug that because I like Lucas and Max, but I also like Dustin and Max, and I don't know, there's always that little thing inside me that says it would have been cute too. So the inner shipper in me kind of rejoiced at that. I don't know how deep they'll go into that this season, but I guess we'll see. The thing is, they actually like they have like serpentines and just loud things to like get his attention, and they all count down to 3 and they all say, just yell, "Welcome home, Dustin," I guess, and Dustin freaks out. Obviously they've caught him by surprise, but he just jumps around and starts aiming the Fairy hairspray at the first person he comes across, which turns out to be Lucas. And his face is so great. I love Dustin's face in this. It cracks me up. Like every time I've watched this trailer like 57 times already, and every time I watch it, I just laugh. And this is hysterical. This is how you start a trailer and get people hooked, and it's awesome. Like Dustin's face, and then Lucas's girly scream is back. I'm so happy because I love those little jokes. I adore it, and it's so great. Also, if you look at the background, like you're staring at Lucas, who's screaming his head off because he's being attacked with first spray. But if you look behind him, you will see that Elle actually jumps back and tries to hide behind Mike, which I find hysterical because she's like, I mean, this girl has faced interdimensional monsters like 70 times as large as she is, and probably just about as powerful, and yet she has no qualms whatsoever about using her boyfriend as a human shield when she's being attacked with hairstyling products. Like, it's just it's just so hilarious, and I freaking love it. Best way to start a trailer ever, period. Also, there's this thing I like to do when it comes to Stranger Things trailers, and that is I like to count outfits, because not because I like super love fashion or anything. I mean, this is the 80s, we're talking about, the fashions aren't really that great, but I love counting the outfits because it tells me a little bit about the timeline and how long the season's gonna take maybe, and which scenes go together. So I like to count outfits, and this time around I decided, like in the season 2 trailers, I remember looking really pointedly at Mike's clothes, because there was one particular outfit that he wore for a lot of the trailer, which told me that one particular day, or at least a sequence, was going to take a long time, a huge part of the actual season. And it turned out to be true. Like the last outfit he wears for like 3 days. And the last day of the second season is actually pretty long. It takes off like 3 episodes or so. It starts in episode 6 and it ends in episode 9. So it's a really long day that they just go through. So I like looking at outfits for that reason. And this time around I decided to just stay focused on 11's outfits, because they seem to have the more variation. Like, I could look at Mike, but most of his clothes look very similar this time around, so I decided I'm gonna stick with 11 and just look at her and see what she's wearing, so I can kind of make my mind up about what the timeline is gonna look like. So this outfit that she's wearing, which is just like jeans and a t-shirt, that's outfit number 1. Right, so keep that in mind for as we go through the rest. Then we get a shot of the kids walking through some sort of pasture and going up a hill. And the first thing I have to say is this shot is freaking gorgeous. Like I was saying about the cinematography before, this is, if the pan through the 5 kids was my favorite shot of the entire trailer, this is the prettiest shot of the entire trailer. Like it's gorgeous. These locations that they found are just amazing, and they just bring me back to my childhood so bad. To a time when people and kids especially actually went outside their homes to, you know, actually do things outside, and it makes me think so much of that, and it's just beautiful. Also, this is around the time when we hear the beginning chords of Baba O'Reilly by The Who, and legit, the first few times I watched this trailer, it gave me chills. That song is so iconic, and I know that I saw a lot of annoying people on Twitter and Tumblr complaining that, yeah, Baba O'Reilly is not an 80s song, it's not from 85, it's from the 70s, blah blah blah, why are they using it, they ruined it, whatever. You're idiots. That song is iconic, and if for any reason you think that people in the 80s just stopped listening to 70s songs because the decade changed, you're wrong. That's ridiculous. Baba O'Reilly was iconic in the 80s as it is now. It still is iconic. The Who is an iconic band, and that song is so just intrinsically drags emotions out of you when it comes on, and you can tell just from the opening chords, and that's what the song did to me in this trailer. Just the first few chords, I was already like, I had goosebumps, you know, in my arms, because I'm like, holy shit, they used that song, and it's perfect, and I love it, and it's just, I'm still getting goosebumps. I'm not even kidding. Like, it's such a great song, and it's such a great use of the song that I love it. And if you have a problem with it because it's not historically accurate or whatever, just go home. Go home. You're wrong. It's not okay. You know? So yeah, let's just leave it at that. Also, when it pans a little closer to the kids, you can see that Mike and Elle are holding hands, which I love it so much. It's so cute. It's so stupid, but I squealed so hard. Then we see a different shot of the kids, and we kind of see why they're at this hill, like this grassy hill somewhere in Hawkins. And this shot of them actually just gives me really strong Stand By Me vibes for some reason. And I know in Stand By Me they don't actually do this, but it felt like we're going out into, you know, the wilderness to like on this mission kind of thing. And I got really strong Stand By Me vibes from this shot, and I love it for that reason. But it also tells me a lot about what's happening, I think. Like, of course, it's all mainly speculation, but it seems like they're installing some kind of antenna on a hill somewhere in what looks like a forest area of sorts. So I wonder if that has to do with their walkie-talkies. You know what I mean? Like, maybe they're installing an antenna they themselves made so that they can expand the range of their walkie-talkies. And I'm thinking this probably has something to do with 11 and trying to make her also be able to participate in the, you know, radio communication thing, which would make a lot of sense, because if you remember, the first episode of the season is going to be talked Susie, Do You Copy? And I speculated on Tumblr ages ago when the titles first came out that Susie was totally going to be 11's codename. You know, because they can't actually say her name in case anyone, you know, from the lab or whatever is listening in. So they give her a codename. Her codename is Susie. And the title of the episode itself is Susie, do you copy? So meaning there might be some communication troubles with her. So I think maybe they're installing this antenna because 11 lives out in the cabin in the middle of a forest, maybe. I mean, they might still be there, I think so. So it might just be that it's too far away for her to actually get the radio signals when they talk to each other. Or maybe she can, but she has to use her powers and they don't want her to use her powers all that often or something. But I think maybe this antenna is sort of their solution to that problem. Like they're trying to increase the range of their radio communications so that 11 can participate as well. And I think it would make a lot of sense given the name of the first episode. So that's one thing that immediately kind of caught my eye. Then the scene changes and we go to the Hawkins Post, which, yay! Finally you get to see some local journalism. Support your local journalists, guys. It's a dying art and it has to keep existing. It's super important. Anyway, we finally get to see the Hawkins Post, which probably will be like a total mess. I'm just speculating here by the fact that Jake Busey, apparently his character seems to work there and he seems to not be a nice person, so it's probably really friggin' messy in here telling you to like support your local journalists and whatever. But it's good to see it. And then we see that Nancy and Jonathan are in there. And they look very dressed up, which is kind of odd because they're, teenagers. So I speculated back when some set pictures came out, and I saw that Nancy was like all cloaked up and Jonathan was dressed up too, and they were together. And I was speculating that maybe they are getting like a job or an internship at least at the Hawkins Post. I think this pretty much confirms it. And I mean, they seem to be waiting for like the results of the interview or whatever, but I think it's pretty safe to say that they're going to be working at the Post, or at least they're going to be attempting to work, like interviewing to work at the Post, which I really, really love, because one of my things that I concluded from season 2 is that Nancy at least has to become a journalist. Like, I want her to become a journalist so bad. Like, I feel like it's her calling, and I feel like it hasn't been actually mentioned before in the show. Like, they just sort of left it out in the open, but I feel like the way she thinks is the way a journalist thinks. And of course, Jonathan could then work with her because he's a photographer, so he could work for a newspaper. Like, it's not too much of a stretch, right? So if this is what they're doing, and I'm pretty sure, like, I think I called it right, I'm pretty sure this is what's going to be happening. I am really happy that they're going this way, and I'm psyched to see where it goes, because I really want Nancy to be like, you know what, I'm gonna be a journalist when I grow up. Like, I seriously really want that to happen. So good on you, Duffers. And then another scene change, and Billy's back. Which, not that I don't enjoy looking at Tinker Montgomery shirtless. It was a very good look. But I can't like Billy. I don't like Billy. I was hoping that he would, like, take off after graduation or something and just leave Hawkins forever and never come back. So I wouldn't have to see him this season, but he's back. Not much I can do about it now, I guess. But whatever. Apparently he's become a lifeguard over the summer, so of course we get to see him shirtless, which is a bonus, but I wish he wasn't there. I do have to say though, like, a huge round of applause to the lady in green, whose expression just made my day. Like, she looks at him like, whoa, and it's so freaking hysterical, and I just love it. I love her expression. Kudos to you, lady. You're the best. You absolutely just stole the entire trailer from everybody else. It's so great. We also then get our first glimpse at a colleague of Billy's in the lifeguard business, which this time around seems to be a girl. She's also giving him the eye, because obviously he looks good shirtless. We can't deny that. But this is a female lifeguard. And it's interesting because there's one of the episode titles that we got from before is The Case of the Missing Lifeguard. I don't think it's going to be Billy, I think it's probably gonna be the goal. So keep that in mind for later on when we see more of this person. Then we see Hopper at what looks like a restaurant, and he's wearing the infamous by now Don Johnson shirt, which is so very 80s that I love it. Right, so he's wearing the shirt and he's pulling out a cigarette, which always kind of makes me pause because I keep forgetting that in the 80s there were still no laws saying that you couldn't smoke indoors. Now, like, you cannot smoke indoors, like mostly anywhere. Like at your house, sure, but it might affect like the smoke detectors and whatever, so it's a risk. But in public places, you cannot smoke indoors, and that's a thing that's actually fairly recent. So every time it happens in Stranger Things that people just up and pull out a cigarette and start smoking indoors, it kind of shocks me a little bit because I forget that kind of stuff. But it was actually a thing. So he pulls out a cigarette and he's sitting there at a table for two people, so he's obviously waiting for someone, right? So my first instinct was to say that he's waiting for Joyce, generally speaking. Like, I think he asked her to dinner and maybe he thought it was a date, so he dressed up, but maybe she didn't think it was a date, so she stood him up or something. But it could be, but it could also be that, maybe he's just waiting for someone else. Maybe he's on a date with some other woman, or maybe he's just like waiting for the mayor or something. Like, you remember, a lot of people seem to forget that Hopper's not a sheriff. Hopper is a chief of police, right? So the difference, for those who don't know, is that sheriffs are publicly elected. Like, you have to vote for a sheriff, right? A chief of police is put in place by someone, and most of the time it turns out that someone is the mayor of the town. So in essence, Mayor Klein, who we'll see later, is Hopper's boss, because Hopper is the chief of police of Hawkins, Indiana. He's not a sheriff, he wasn't elected, but like, he was put in his job by the mayor, right? So if Klein is his boss, he might just be like, it might just be like a professional meeting of some kind, just at a restaurant, so it's not such a stuffy place. It happens sometimes. So I'm not entirely sure what is going on here, but I think it might be Joyce. It's possible, but it also might not be. So let's not get too hyped up about that one, at least. However, the trailer does indeed want us really hard to think that it has something to do with Joyce, right? Because the next shot that we see is actually a shot of Joyce, and she's having dinner at her house, it looks like, and she looks kind of sad. She looks sort of, whatever, like thoughtful about things. Kind of melancholy maybe. However, I'm pretty sure these two shots are not directly related. Because of the whole outfit thing that I told you about. Pay attention to the outfits because they're important. Joyce in this scene is wearing a white t-shirt with a red neckline. And we will see later, we haven't gotten to that point yet, but we will see later in the trailer that when Hopper is wearing the Don Johnson shirt, Joyce is actually wearing a red t-shirt with a white neckline. So she's not wearing the same thing as she would be when Hopper is actually wearing the Don Johnson shirt. So I don't think these two scenes are even connected at all. I think it's editing, and they just really, really hard want us to think that the two are connected and that it's a Hopper and Joyce thing that's happening. I'm not entirely sure. It might not be. It might be again, but it doesn't have to be. So let's not take that as a fact just yet. Then we see the boys, it looks like, biking away from Joyce's house, or Will's house, I guess, and Mike sort of stops and turns around to just look at the house, right? So initially I thought this would be Mike's, my first thought was, this is Mike's figuring something out face. Like, it's that's the expression he has when he's like putting everything together, and he does that a lot. People underestimate Mike, but he actually is freaking smart, and he puts things together a lot more than many of the adults do. So I thought this would be him figuring something out, but I'm not sure. That was just my first instinct. I don't know what's happening in this scene. It should be noted that there are 3 people with him. We see Lucas, we see Dustin, and there's someone else right behind him that we can't actually see, but there is someone else, right? Because later on we see them feud. Initially I thought, well, that has to be Will, right? But then that doesn't really make sense because they're biking away from Will's house, and Mike looks back worriedly like something's wrong with the house or with someone inside the house. So it doesn't seem like it would be Will. It might be 11. I don't know, like, the only thing you can see from that person is that they're wearing long sleeves, which strikes me as odd for summer. Like, I don't think Will would be wearing long sleeves for summer, but he might be. I do think, however, that there is if I'm not mistaken, however, there was I will check. If I'm not mistaken, there was a set pic where Will seems to be wearing long sleeves. I'm not entirely sure because I remember he was wearing a robe over it, so I might be wrong, but it seemed like he was wearing longish shirts, longish sleeves. But in that one set picture, he was with Finn Wolfhard, who plays Mike, of course, and Mike was wearing different clothes. He was not wearing this specific polo, like light blue polo that we see him wearing here. So I don't think that's the same scene at all. So I don't think that's Will that we're looking at in this picture. I think it might be 11. I think it might be that something's going down with Will, like maybe they're like pushing each other apart a little bit, and Mike is worried for him or something, or they had a fight of some kind, and I'm not entirely sure, but I definitely think this is not Will, and Will is inside the house, and Mike is worried for some reason about Will. I don't know. Then we see one of my favorite, like one of the things that made me scream the most when I saw the trailer the first time around. We see a shot of Elle and Max, and they're sitting on a bed in what looks to be like Eleven's room. I'm not entirely sure. It doesn't look like Max's room though, because we've seen Max's room in season 2 and it wasn't decorated like this, so unless she completely changed the whole thing, I think this might be Elle's room, and it might be Elle's room in the cabin, and they sort of painted it throughout the months at some point. Or it might be that they just moved somewhere else. But I'm definitely thinking that this is Eleven's room. And the girls are just hanging out. Ella's looking, they're listening to music, and Ella's looking through some magazines, and Max is in the back like dancing with like singing into a brush, and it's all so perfectly lovely that I adore this moment. It's funny because I wrote a fanfic about the girls having a night in, the 2 of them, because one of the things that bothered me the most about season 2, and there were very few things about season 2 that bothered me, but one of the things that did bother me about season 2 was that we never had any resolution for Max and Elle. Like, they ended the season seemingly on the outs, and we all want them to be friends. You know what I mean? It's like there's no reason for the only 2 girls in the group to hate each other or like dislike each other, especially over a boy, and especially over once the whole thing with the boy comes out as just a misunderstanding. You know what I mean? Like, Max didn't even like Mike like that. It was just an impression that Elle got. So it felt really weird to me that they just ended the season like that and didn't give him a chance to actually, you know, clear things up and become friends. I really wanted that to happen in season 2, and it didn't. So I think myself and most of the fandom really has been waiting for a chance to see these 2 actually be the best friends that we know they can be. You know what I mean? And it was so satisfying when this shot came out. And it gave me chills a little bit because I wrote a fanfic about these 2 spending a night in Eleven's house, and like actually doing, like, having some kind of a sleepover and doing sleepover things, like listening to music and watching movies and, you know, braiding each other's hair. And while this isn't exactly like that, it's this exact same spirit that I wanted to see from them. So when I saw that, it felt like the Duffers just plucked it right out of my mind. And it gave me chills when I saw it. I legit screamed. I am so happy to see, like, you don't know how happy I am to see this shot in the trailer. It made me smile. It still makes me smile every time I see it. My girls are gonna be best friends. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be fantastic, and I'm so happy. So happy to see this. Also, outfit count 2. This is a totally different outfit that 11 is wearing here, and it's interesting because they also released a few stills after the trailer hit. The official Stranger Things account released a few stills from the season, and one of those stills showed Elle and Max smiling at each other, having ice cream in what looks like a bus, right? Like there's other people in the background and everything. And Elle is actually wearing the same outfit she's wearing in this little clip. So I'm going to speculate here that since this is probably Elle's room, I'm thinking that she's maybe not supposed to go out, like out in public just yet, but Max is somehow going to sneak her out so she can show her the mall. So we can go to the mall, like, and have ice cream. Just go bug Steve about ice cream, probably. So that's what I'm thinking, like, they're just hanging out in their room, Hopper's like out or at work or something or whatever, and they just up and decide, you know what, let's sneak out and let's go to the mall. That's kind of my idea. Then after that we go back to the antenna hill, you know, the hill that they were at before where they installed the antenna, and we see a shot of Max and Lucas walking down the hill, holding hands, and Dustin is left behind right by the antenna looking down at them. And then it zooms closer and you see that Dustin looks sad, so he's clearly still pining over the whole Max thing, which, you know, before season 2 I was kind of afraid of them going into a love triangle with these three, or with any of the kids really. When season 2 came out, turned out I actually liked it. I kind of liked what they did with it because it wasn't, you know, adversarial. Like, Dustin and Lucas still were friends by the end, no matter who Max chose. I would have wanted Max to choose neither, but I can see why she chose Lucas instead of Dustin. So yeah, I didn't mind it as much as I thought I was going to. So I don't mind it here, and I feel for Dustin, of course, because he clearly still likes Max somehow, like, even though Steve like encouraged him to go after other girls or whatever, and like didn't quite work, and Nancy had to step in and give him some real advice. He actually still likes Max, you know, and it's something that he has to kind of get used to, because of course he's not gonna steal his best friend's girlfriend or anything. He's not that kind of person. So I'm actually looking forward to seeing what they do with this. I hope Max doesn't like break up with Lucas just to end up with Dustin or anything, but you know, I like the dynamic of this little trio for some reason. I don't know, I just find it really cute, and I look forward to seeing what they do with it. I hope they don't screw it all up. Like, seriously, it's so easy. That's why I tell people just avoid love triangles, because it's so easy to screw everything up and just damage all three of the characters, and I don't want that to happen in this. But I trust the Duffers. Like, they haven't let me down yet, so I'm okay with this. Then we see a shot of 2 picture frames, like obviously made by a child or something. And the 2 picture frames hold pictures of the 4 boys together, one from season 1, one from season 2. So you know how people keep saying that Stranger Things is all about 80s nostalgia? Well, this one shot was just enough to give us fans of the show nostalgia for season 1 and season 2, because all of us recognize those pictures, where they came from and how they were involved with the plot in both seasons. So it was like instantaneously, I was like, oh, look everything they've been through. You know what I mean? Like immediate nostalgia for season 1 and season 2, and I thought that was really great. And then we hear Mike say these words. He says, "We're not kids anymore." I mean, what do you think? That we're just gonna sit in my basement all day playing games for the rest of our lives? And it ends with a shot of Will looking at the pictures that we just saw. And it's just his face, his expression is just devastating, you know? And just note that I don't think Mike is necessarily saying this line to Will. I know that before I said that it might just be that they get into a fight or something, and that's why Mike is looking wistfully at Will's house in that one shot. But I don't think necessarily that Mike is saying this line to Will, but I mean, it could be. This could be their argument that I mentioned before. But it could also be him talking to an adult, I feel. Because of the way he says we're not kids anymore. You know what I mean? It's like he's saying this to someone who's older than him to make them understand that what they've been through has changed them. But regardless of what the line is about, however, like who he's saying it to, I do think that in particular for Will, this thing of them sort of growing older and maybe growing apart and not doing the same things that they did before and their routines changing and everything is sort of going to affect Will more than the others. I think he's going to be struggling with that this season. I think he's probably the one who most wants things to not change, you know, and with the inclusion of the girls into the group and you know, them growing up and hormones and, you know, thinking about relationships and stuff like that, he might feel that he's being a little left out in this whole thing. I don't know that it might have anything to do with his sexuality, because we've all speculated on Will's sexuality. I hope the Duffers do something with that, you know, at some point, like explicitly, like actually having Will figure out his sexual orientation on the show, like live, not just hinted at, but like really happening. I don't know that this is going to be the thing that he's going to be dealing with necessarily, but he's definitely going to be dealing with change and the idea that everything is changing and they're not kids anymore and they have to grow up, and their routines and things that made them happy when they were kids are not the same things that are going to make them happy now that they're growing up. And his worldview is just going to start changing. You know, he's going to feel that his friends are leaving him behind a little bit. I definitely think that's what Will is going to be dealing with. And that combined with his obvious PTSD from the whole upside down thing and then the whole mind flayer thing, it's going to weigh heavily on him, and it's obvious from this one shot that he's going to have to deal with some heavy stuff, you know? They do mention it in the companion book, at least, that, you know, there's this whole idea that they're not playing D&D anymore, you know, and everybody's pairing off with the girls and whatever, and things are changing, and I think Will just hasn't wrapped his head around that yet, and I think a lot of his plotline this season is going to deal with that. And then we see our first shot of everyone's favorite bromance, with Dustin, who's finally back from camp, coming back and walking into, you know, Scoops Ahoy to say hi to Steve, and they obviously have like this whole, like, I don't know, handshake kind of thing where they do this sequence, and it's just hysterical. I should also note that they are mock playing at lightsabers, like that's what they're wielding. They do the sound effect and everything. So I think it's pretty much clear, you know, we all knew that Steve was a closet nerd. Turns out he really is a nerd. So good on you, you converted the popular boy, you know? He's on our side now, so that's great. Then the tagline starts, and I normally don't care all that much about the tagline. I just have to say that I really love like the fireworks effect that they put on the title. It's just really cute, I don't know. Then we get a shot at the mall, which is our first non-marketing look at the mall. We saw it, of course, in that little like video thingy that they posted a few months ago, where we first saw our first look at Steve and Robin. But this is the first like in canon, in show look we get at the actual Starcourt Mall. So that's interesting. The next scene is again Max and Elle, which, oh my god, they have more than one scene together. Yes, thank you. Thank you for confirming that. Like, I was already psyched that they had scenes together. I'm more psyched that they seem to have a lot of scenes together, which I really like. Again, I'm not gonna go into it, the whole, diatribe about how they need to be best friends or whatever, but I'm so glad that they have actually several scenes together, and it's obvious that they're becoming really good friends. What we see here is what looks like Max taking Elle to the mall for the first time. I mean, if the look in her face is to say something about it, it seems like that's the first time. So that's interesting. But I should also note that this is the third outfit that we see Eleven in right now. So this is not the same outfit she's wearing as that time at the bus. Like, it's not the same outfit she was wearing before. So if they go to the mall on the bus to get ice cream, as they showed us on that still, it's not the same time as this time. So they go to the mall in two separate occasions, it seems. So that is different. That's our third 11 outfit right now. Then we see people, possibly downtown workers. They're outside what looks like City Hall, and they seem to be protesting the mall. They seem to be blaming the mall on the mayor. That's interesting. I mean, there's always some kind of protest, especially in our times. But it's interesting to see that, because we all, like, these days, everybody's protesting every new technology that comes along. It's interesting to even remember that back in the day, malls were a really bad thing for, like, downtown little mom and pop shops. You know what I mean? But it's the way of the world, is how it goes. And it's super interesting because we're at a point where we're thinking that, like, online shopping, for example, is totally displacing the malls, and like malls are closing everywhere in the world because it's so easy to just buy stuff online. So it's a really interesting parallel I think the developers are playing with here, because back then the big thing that people were angry about was this huge mall with it's like franchise businesses, big businesses, was going to take, customers away from the little shops owned by local people and local families. So that's really interesting to see. Also, I do have to give a shout out to the person in the background with the sign that says the pretzels aren't even that good, because that made me laugh so hard. You're that person. Next, we see our first look at the town fair. It seems like Mayor Klein is also involved in it because we can see it from the side. Also, I just want to point out, and I don't want to get into politics or anything here, but I just want to point out that the style of that Mayor Klein Presents side looks awfully familiar. I'm just saying. I think they did that on purpose. Next, we see Hopper at the fair. He's wearing the Don Johnson shirt, so that's one thing. Also, we should note that Joyce is standing right beside him, and she's wearing the red t-shirt with the white neckline that I mentioned before. So this shot here, right here, is how we know that when Hopper is in the Don Johnson shirt, Joyce should be wearing a red shirt, right? So that helps us sort out a little what those scenes we saw previously were about and whether they're connected, which I'm pretty sure they were not, precisely because of this. Then we see a shot of some guy inside a funhouse type place with like lots of mirrors and whatever, and he seems to be looking for someone because he's, he has a gun, so it seems like he wants to shoot someone. I don't know who. I don't even know who this dude is. Like, generally speaking, back when they were filming, we got a lot of info from casting slides and like who the characters were. We knew there was gonna be obviously the mayor. We knew Jake Busey was gonna be in there. We knew about Robin. We also knew that there was a lifeguard girl. We knew that from the casting slides, and we knew that there's some old lady that we know nothing about yet, that was also going to be cast. We know nothing about this dude. I don't know who he is. I don't know where the heck he came from. Is he just like a merc that somebody hired to take the meddlers out or whatever? Like, will he have any lines since there was no casting for him apparently? Will he have any lines, or will he let the gun do the speaking for him? I don't know. I don't know what's going on here. I don't know who this guy is. He's obviously not Jake Busey, so I guess we'll see later. Then we see Hopper. And Hopper says, and I will read it. He says, "It is important to me that you feel safe. I want you to feel like this can still be your home." Now, everyone assumes that this line is about Joyce. Because the trailer obviously wants to make it seem like he's talking to Joyce, right? But who knows? I feel like there might be some trickery involved here. Because I've been burned before by this kind of stuff. I'm not entirely convinced that he's talking to Joyce. He could be, but he might not be. So directly after he says this, we see Joyce, right? So obviously the trailer is pushing us really hard to think that he's talking to Joyce, but I don't think he is. Mainly because, first, Hopper, when he's saying the line, he's wearing his uniform, right? And when we see Joyce, we see that she's wearing the red shirt with the white collar. Right, so this is happening on the same day as Hopper is supposed to be wearing the Don Johnson shirt. But Hopper is in his uniform when he says the line, so I don't think the line and this shot of Joyce are related at all. I think they happen at two different points in the season. So Hopper might be talking to Joyce, maybe in some other instance, like whatever, or he might be talking to someone else. The line actually also sounds a little bit like what he could be talking, like he could be talking to Eleven. You know, it kind of sounds a little bit like something a father might say to his daughter. You know, I don't know, maybe they're moving. Maybe they finally decided that Eleven's going to be out in the world and they're moving out of the cabin to live somewhere closer to town, maybe. It almost sounds like, you know, something that he might say to Eleven in that circumstance. Like they're looking at houses maybe, and he's saying, you know, I want you to feel like you're safe here. Like this is your home. That the home bit was what clued me in the most, I think, because home was home for Eleven. Like Eleven's home, her finding home, was such a recurring theme of season 2, and she tried many different things as far as her home goes. You know, home with Hopper, home with her friends, home with Callie. So it seems like a recurring thing for her, and it, like hearing Hopper say, "I want you to feel like this is your home," it sounds like something he might be saying to Eleven. So I'm not sure. I'm not saying that's definitely what's happening here because I'm not psychic or anything, but I feel like there might be some trickery involved in this. So I'm not 100% ready to like say that it's Joyce he's talking to. I'm not 100% ready to say that it's Eleven he's talking to. I'm just saying, watch out, it might not be what it looks like from the trailer. Then we see the second part of the tagline, and can I just say I love the tagline? That's all I want to say. It's such an 80s coming of age story type of tagline that I just love it. Then we see a shot of Eleven. She seems to be at a beach somewhere in the night, and it looks like it might be in the upside down, because you know everything is dark, and that's usually how it happens in the upside down. Or maybe is she in a beach in the real world, and the upside down just happens to like be seeping into the real world somehow. I'm not entirely sure which one it is, but it certainly seems dramatic enough to actually be in the upside down. Also note, outfit count 4. This is a whole new outfit that she's wearing, and we've seen pictures of her from the set when she was filming these scenes at the beach, so we know she's going to get wet and she's going to scream a lot, if that says anything. Then we see a really quick shot of Eleven falling off of something in the void. I don't know what that something is. It might be a couch. It looks like a couch. It could be a bathtub somehow. I can't really tell, but it certainly looks really dramatic, and I have a feeling this bit in particular is probably going to be a lot less dramatic in context than it looks like in a trailer, so just keep that in mind. Then we see another shot, and this time another shot of 11, and this time it's her almost drowning, which is certainly dramatic. So yeah, I guess I can't even begin to speculate what is happening, because everything around her is black. I assume she's in the void too, but I can't be certain. But it certainly looks really dramatic, so yeah. Then we got the full tagline, and it's one summer can change everything. And I just love this tagline so much. I love it. I love it, I love it, I love it. Then we see a shot of Billy again, which again I hoped I would have hoped that I wouldn't have to see him again, but here he is. At least it seems like they're doing something interesting with him, because we see him in the shower and he's obviously like something's going on with him, right? Then it flashes, it fades into black, and it pops up with a shot of someone's arm. Because of the color of the towel in the background, I'm assuming this is Billy. He's still in the same bathroom, and something is happening, like there's something in his arm. Like we can see veins and stuff, like a dark clot in his arm. And oh yeah, Billy's turning into a monster, and he's so fucking screwed. I'm just saying, he's toast. If he turns into a monster, he's toast. He's dead. He's not making it out of this season. I'm just saying that. Then we get a really quick look at the party, it looks like. From below, it's funny because they're standing in a circle, and it's like Avengers style shot here, everybody. I hope that's not all there is to it. I hope they actually do the full 360 shot, because in the Avengers it was really cool, and it would be really awesome to see it with the party. So yeah. Then we see someone sliding down what seems to be like between escalators, like the space between escalators. Initially, like when I first watched it and it happened really fast, I thought it might be 11, but then when I went to get the screen caps, I realized that it's actually Robin, and she's got Steve behind her, and he's got Dustin behind him. So something's definitely going down at the mall, we can tell that much. Then we see the party like breaking out through a door, and they seem to be in some kind of office building of some kind. Like, is this maybe at the mall somewhere, I thought? Maybe it's at the lab? We haven't really heard much of the lab at this point, so what's happening with the lab? Like, I know that it was supposed to be closed last time, but it seems a little bit too easy, right? So, I should also note that Dustin seems to not be there, unless he's hiding behind 11, which I don't think he is. But I'm guessing he's with Steve and Robin at this point. Also note, this is outfit count 5, because this is the 5th outfit that we see 11 wearing. Then we get what I have come to think of as the freaking money shot, okay? This is the best looking, like obviously the scene that's going to grab the most attention, and it looks amazing. This shot of this person, like they seem to be trying to use some kind of machinery, and it just explodes, and everybody around is electrocuted, and you have this shot of these people in these suits that looks like hazmat suits, but they're not really hazmat suits. They have like masks, like filtering masks for some reason. So, and then we see this amazing shot of this person getting electrocuted, and it's just so cinematic. It's amazing. I think this is the part of the trailer where everybody's gonna go, whoa, you know, because it's so incredible. Then we see a little quick shot of Erica, and yes, Erica's back. I love her. I know they already said that she would be back, but I kind of wanted to see if they would actually include her in the trailer. They did. I'm happy. And then we get to the group shot that we see back there in my TV. I have a lot of thoughts about this group shot. It was actually the thumbnail that I told you guys about. When I first saw the video and it came up in my tweet deck and it had that thumbnail, and I was like, I've never seen this before, this is big, it's a trailer, right? So I should note that what I'm thinking of when I see this is that there are 2 big climax scenes in this season, at least 2. like confrontation, like big confrontation scenes where all the teens are together, particularly. But they seem to occur in different days because everybody's wearing different clothes. And the first one we actually see in the trailer is this one, which obviously happens at the mall. And it seems to be fairly explosive given the amount of like broken glass that's around Eleven and the fact that her face is like really messed up from the blood and everything. She's bleeding a lot, so she's obviously using her powers a lot. But we don't actually know that this one is the first chronologically at this point, although I would dare to say it's probably not. It probably doesn't happen before the other scene that I'll get to later. This one probably happens after. And how do we know that? We know that because from the list of episodes that we got, the very last episode is titled The Battle of Starcourt. Starcourt being the mall. So obviously, whatever big battle that happens at the mall, it's going to happen in the very last episode. And I think this thing that we're seeing right now, this scene is from that battle. And so I definitely think out of all the big confrontation scenes that we get to see in this trailer, this one happens later on in the season. Probably in the very last episode, which is something I find kind of interesting because for season 2 we got the first teaser trailer, and the first teaser trailer was pretty tame as far as giving us a look into the later episodes. Like most of the clips that we got in that first trailer seem to be from the very beginning of the season, like the first 2 or 3 episodes at most, and it wasn't until way later on with that other trailer that we got, that was the big one, where it was actually revealed that looking back on it, we can say that we got a lot of scenes from actually the last few episodes of the season. So it's interesting that this is the first full teaser, the first full trailer that we get for season 3, and we're already getting scenes that are very obviously from the last episode of the season, so that's something to keep in mind. Also, the funny thing about this shot is, at first I thought Max wasn't in the shot, and I started freaking out. Like, oh my god, do not let Max die. Please, oh my god, like I started hyperventilating really hard because I was so worried about where she might be. But then the shot sort of zooms in, and we can see that Max is definitely there. And it's just kind of really cool because she's also like wearing braids, which again reminds me, like makes me flash back to the fanfic I wrote about Elle and Max and them like braiding each other's hair and stuff, so that made me smile. She has her hair on a braid. It might be 2 braids, but at least one that we get to see, so that's really cool. I like how they played with hairstyle this season, and 11's as well, so that's really interesting. Probably Nancy's too, but we don't get to see much of it, I guess. And then we get our very first look at Cary Elwes as Mayor Klein. He's welcoming everybody to the fair and to the 4th of July celebrations, and you can just see, like, I love Cary Elwes so much. From The Princess Bride, I loved him from Psych as well. And I think he's so great in these kinds of roles. So I think this is perfect casting, and I'm so happy that he's gonna be part of the season. Like he's gonna play an asshole. I know it. I mean, you just know that he's gonna be an asshole in this thing, right? Like if not evil, then at least an asshole. Like at least corrupt. But he's gonna be so good in this role. And it's such perfect casting that I'm just so happy, so freaking happy. Then we'll move on to a shot of the fireworks over the Ferris wheel, and I just wanted to pause here for a moment and say I love this shot. I think the cinematography in this trailer, like just in looking from setting the camera from below the Ferris wheel to look up at the fireworks, is such a genius idea, and it's so beautifully done that I love the cinematography in this trailer. Like we can already see it from the trailer that it's gonna be great. I can't wait to see it in the actual season. And also the special effects look awesome. Like I know this is pretty tame as far as special effects go, it's just like fireworks over a Ferris wheel or whatever, but the other effects that we've seen as well have been really great. And I think there's a lot that the Stranger Things production team could say to like Marvel and DC, not necessarily about special effects themselves, because I think obviously movies like Marvel and DC movies, their special effects are on a whole new scale, but they certainly could teach them a thing or two about using your best material in your marketing promotional stuff. You know, because we've gotten so many trailers where the effects are like half finished and it just looks terrible, and you watch the trailer and you're like, what the heck is this? And it just doesn't make you excited to watch the thing, for both Marvel and DC. But I think Stranger Things, the production team knows, and the marketing team at Netflix knows that they have to show us the best they have. So even if it's something as simple as fireworks in the sky, it looks beautiful, and it makes me want to watch this thing even more because it looks so great. This is where the clips start coming out really, really fast, like super fast. So you gotta screen cap it really in order to get the full impact of it all. First, we see the rats. The Stranger Things social media accounts have already teased the rats stuff, and we know there's an episode called The Mole Rats. So yeah, we don't really know much about the rats. Like, are they running from something? Are they running towards something? What is happening, we don't know, but there are rats. That's as much as we can say. Then we get our first look at Jake Busey. Now, we know he's going to be a journalist at the Post. That much we know. But we should note that he seems to be in the same office building as the kids were at before. So I don't know if that might be the Post itself. I'm not sure. Next clip we see is Erica hanging out with Dustin and Steve and Robin. So that's interesting. No big deal. I'm just really glad that Erica is there and that she's part of everything that's happening and not just an ancillary character. Then we see Eleven with her eyes covered up, so she's obviously trying to reach the void for some reason. And she's sitting in front of a fridge full of Eggo boxes, which of course she would be. It almost looks like Bradley's Big Buy from season 1. So if they've really gone back to Bradley's, that's a great throwback, so I really applaud that. Then we see Hopper in his Don Johnson shirt, and he's aiming his gun at someone. Or something, I don't know. We should note that he's standing in front of a huge tiger head. So either he's at the school, because we know that the school's mascot is a tiger. At least I believe it's the high school, at least. I'm not sure about the middle school. It might be the middle school as well. But we know that their mascot is a tiger, so he might be at the school, or he might just be at the fair, and they have like a giant head of a tiger in one of the attractions somehow. The fun house maybe? I don't know. I'm guessing though it's the fair because of the purple lighting, like you wouldn't have lights like that at school, so most likely the fair. Then we get a shot which I find super interesting. There's some kind of ray, like electricity ray, going into what looks like a wall. And the wall is glowing red. And this might be from the machine that they were building before, the one that exploded. This might be what it was built for. And I don't know, are they maybe trying to reopen a gate to the upside down, maybe? It seems like that red color looks very similar, looks very upside downy, so it might be that that's what the bad guys are trying to do this time around, I don't know. Then we see Jonathan looking at the monster. Because there is a monster, hey, here's our first look at the monster, but most importantly, Jonathan is standing there and staring at it, terrified obviously. And it's interesting because he seems to be in that same office building, but now we can actually see that behind him there are scales, as if the ones used to weigh people. And it makes it look more like a hospital. And this kind of makes sense because we did get another still from the official account that same night. We got a still of the entire group, like the teens plus the kids, standing outside a hospital. So it might just be that they're all in this place and there's a monster just growing in there for some reason. So I think this whole sequence at the hospital is going to be the second big climax scene that I mentioned before, except I think this one happens before the one at the mall. I know this especially just because of everything that I explained already. We get a quick shot of Lucas, and yes, the wrist rocket is back. He hasn't given up on it, yay. And then we see a shot of Nancy looking freaking terrified. And I should know that she's wearing the same dress that she's wearing for what I'm thinking is probably an interview at the Post. So maybe this is happening early on in the season, like maybe in the first 3 or so episodes. So yeah, this confrontation at the hospital, it's gonna be a big one, but it's gonna happen early on. So that's what I'm thinking right now. Then we have a quick shot of someone's eye looking veiny, like with black veins coming out of the pupils and stuff. I'm guessing it's Billy because of the whole turning into a monster thing, I guess. Then we get a shot of women in leotards, like colorful 80s leotards, and it's all very Olivia Newton-John's physical for some reason. And I shouldn't complain, I mean, we already got that shot of shirtless Billy, so that was good, you know, fan service for the women and the gay man. So now we have to have something for the other side, you know, the men and the gay women. So this is very typical 80s music video, and it looks like a music video, so I'm wondering about that. Then we see another shot of Gun Dude, once again with his gun. Obviously he's having way too much fun with his gun. I don't know who he is or what this is about, but he's gonna be around. Then we get a shot of my girls looking quintessential 80s. Like seriously, the splatter in the background, the scrunchies, the colorful dresses, they just look so 80s. And I wish I knew where the shot was from, because this, along with the physical shot, it seems almost staged. It seems almost different from every other shot we've gotten. Like, it doesn't fit with the other shots. And I'm wondering if somebody having some kind of like dream sequence or something, or are we getting some kind of like dressing up at the mall montage? Because that would be awesome. Oh my god, I'm so excited. I love that idea. It would be sweet. Then we get a really quick shot of these two women that we're not really sure who they are. I'm pretty sure the one on the right is the lifeguard team, the lifeguard kid, who she seems to be working with Billy. But who's the other lady? And is she the one, the older lady that we got from the casting flights was going to be a part of the season? I wonder about that. Then we see a quick shot of Steve doing something. He's Steve. There's not much to say about this. And then we get a shot of Steve getting injected with something and screaming, you know? So that's really impactful. And it's funny because I saw a lot of people on social media complaining that Steve always gets beat up. And I get it. I like Steve now. I wish he could just have like a happy life without getting beat up every other day. But at the same time, guys, that's kind of the joke. I mean, that's kind of the joke. Steve always ends the season all beat up for some reason or other. So, you know, it's kind of almost tradition by now. So I'm actually kind of glad that the Duffers went there again, because it's one of those Stranger things, you know? So, yeah, I feel for Steve, but I'm also kind of glad, so sorry, not sorry. Next, we see a shot of Karen. She's obviously at the pool, her hair is all wet, and she's giving what seems to be Billy a flirty look. And I'm just like, ugh, literally nobody wants this. Duffers, please do not go there. Karen deserves better. Don't do this to her. Just nip it in the bud, okay? We don't want this. We don't. We do not. Not at all. Then we get a quick shot of Joyce and Hopper running through the fair. Also not they're holding hands. So that's interesting. Can we see? This is another one of those shots that just kind of don't make sense at any point. Then we see Eleven doing some kind of like interpretive dance or whatever. Like, what what the heck is this? This is so weird. Like, there's so many weird shots in this trailer. Is somebody like going on a mushroom trip or something? I don't understand. It just, this shot seems like it doesn't mesh with any of the other shots we've seen before. So it's like, what is happening? Then we get a really quick shot of Mike and Elle kissing, and they're so cute! I just love them so much. I mean, actually just, let me take a moment to just stare at it because it's so pretty. Oh, they're just so cute, you guys. I love them so much. Like, I could stare at those two forever. They're so adorable. Okay, check it out. Anyway, then we get a quick shot of what looks like the Wheeler's station wagon parking at what looks like Bradley's big buy. So that was interesting. And then afterwards, this really awesome shot of Will looking super badass in the rain. Why do I keep thinking of like Spider-Man every time I see this shot? Like, he just looks really cool. He looks superhero-y a little bit in this shot. And then after that, yes, is that Murray? Murray's back! Woo! I'm so happy. I love Murray. I'm so happy he's back. I'm sure he will get like a small appearance or whatever, but he needs to be around. His conspiracy theories are the best. Next shot we see is seemingly our lifeguard disappearing, per, the case of the missing lifeguard. So the person who's looking down at her seems to be Billy. It might be Dustin because the hair is weird, but the hair is curly, but I'm pretty sure it's gonna be Billy. And also note the similarity between this shot and then 11's drowning shot. It's really interesting. Like, I wonder if they're both being dragged to the same place, maybe. Then we see 11 standing in what looks to be like the cabin, which, yay, the cabin is back. I'm so happy. I love that stupid cabin so much. But the thing is, 11's about to use her powers, and it looks like she's definitely about to bring the whole thing down, like the whole structure down, which would be epic, don't get me wrong, but like, I love that stupid cabin, so why do you do this to me, Toppers? Anyway, it's just, I found it funny, I'm really interested to see why she's trying to bring down the whole thing. And then we see a shot of Nancy looking down the same hallway as before, looking at what looks like the monster. Jonathan is on the other side of the hallway, so we definitely know that the shot of Jonathan looking at the monster is related to, like, Nancy standing there with him. So that's interesting. And then we actually get our first good look at the monster. Holy fuck, it looks terrifying. It looks freaking terrifying. Like, seriously, when it came up the first time, I screamed so loud. It looks incredibly scary. But also, when they zoom in closely, it looks like it might be Demogorgon related somehow. Like, I don't know that this is the thing that Billy transforms into, if he actually transforms into a monster. It might just be another creature altogether. But it definitely looks almost Demogorgon related because of the several rows of teeth that it has. That was something that the Demogorgon had. So it's interesting to see how these creatures are sort of all related somehow. Then of course we get the title screen, and after that we get the tag at the end of the trailer, which turns out to be back to Dustin and Steve and their weird lightsaber handshake thing, and them being dorks, and I just love so much, but I just love them so much. But the thing that I love the most about this whole sequence is just Robin's face in the background while they do the whole lightsaber like thing. Her face is so perfect. Like, she's just staring at them like, and it's hysterical. And then of course we hear her when they're done. We hear her speak, and she's like, "So how many children are you friends with?" I love that so much. If you don't love Robin already, you're wrong. I'm just saying, she's gonna be epic. I just love her. And from Robin's expression and then Steve's expression, I kind of get the feeling that this isn't the first time that one of the kids has stopped by Scoops Ahoy to get ice cream and maybe, tease Steve or whatever. I definitely feel like the others have been there before, and if they haven't, at least Eleven and Max have. I'm pretty sure of that. So, hence, Robin's line about how many children are you friends with? Because she's seen many of them already. And Steve is the party's mom, basically, so of course he would be all over those children. Like, they just love each other so much, and it's like such a great combo. So yeah, that sounded weird. Now that I think about it, I meant that friendly, in a friendly way. Come on. Anyway, it's just, yeah, I definitely think the kids have been spending time at Scoops Ahoy, whether it's just to tease, Steve, or it's to actually get ice cream. They've been spending a lot of time over there, so yeah, just saying. And that wraps up my recap of the trailer. It's been over an hour and a half, it looks like, from my recording. So yeah, I talked a lot about the trailer that was only 2.5 minutes long. But that's what we do here, so yeah. Let me know in the comments if you agree with any of my speculations, if you have any other speculations that I didn't touch upon, if you noticed any other details that I didn't notice, let me know in a comment. And while you're down there, just let me know what you think of the video as a whole. Let me know what you're looking forward to in Stranger Things 3. I'm looking forward to the whole Mike and Eleven thing, and just Elle and Max's friendship especially. But I just loved everything I saw in this trailer. I'm super hyped. I can't believe we have to wait until July. It feels so far away, but it's gonna be epic. I'm so hyped. Are you guys? Let me know in the comments. While you're there, if you like this video, give me a thumbs up. If you like my stuff, please subscribe to my channel. I'm always happy to see people liking and sharing and commenting and subscribing. It really does help me a lot with a bunch of those YouTube algorithms that are so annoying, but we have to work with them, so that's what we're gonna do. In the meantime, you can find me on social media. I am on Twitter and Instagram at girlsAreWeird with underscores between the words, and on Tumblr at girlsAreWeird with hyphens between the words. You can definitely see a bunch of my edits from the Stranger Things trailer over there, so if you're into that kind of stuff, be sure to look it up. You can always find a Facebook page for this vlog at facebook.com/FreakingNarnia, and as usual, you can find all the videos, the previous videos that I've uploaded at my main webpage at FreakingNarnia.com. They're all up in there in case you want to catch up or something. It's all in there. Also, remember that I have a Redbubble store where I make art based on my favorite quotes from my favorite fandoms, and you can use that art to print on different kinds of merchandise, such as t-shirts, coffee cups, computer covers, all kinds of neat stuff in there, so be sure to stop by and maybe purchase something if you're in the mood. It really does help me a lot. Also, remember that you can find this vlog in podcast format, at least some of them. I'm still working through the backlog, but some of them you can find on a podcast format. Just look up Talks from Freaking Narnia in any of your major podcast distribution platforms. And remember, if you want to get this in podcast form on the very same day that it goes up on YouTube, then what you want to do is subscribe to my Patreon, where for $1 a month you can get these podcasts on the exact same day as the video went up on YouTube, among other really cool stuff that I may do in the future. So you might want to subscribe to that if you're really into these things. And in the meantime, I think that's pretty much it for me today. I've already been speaking for over an hour and 40 minutes, so yeah, I'm gonna shut up now. Maybe go and freak out about the screen caps later on and just, stare at all the pretty because it was so pretty. But yeah, that's about it from me today. I will see you guys next time with another video from all the way in freaking Narnia. Don't let the rats and the monsters bite you. I hope that's true. And if for any reason you think that people in the 80s just forgot about 70s songs, this is a female, whom we will see later, and then the whole mind